Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode with Julie and I, and we're in
Albufeira, Portugal.
Albufeira, Portugal. And if you're new to our channel, we're traveling the world with our two dogs, Arya and Katie, and we're trying to see what it's like to live in other countries, other places, and we're trying to share our experiences and expenses with you. And if you're part of our Facebook group, you know that we're in Portugal. If you're just following our videos, we're way out of our alignment with our travels. We're way behind. So this may catch you off guard that we're in Portugal. But while we've been exploring the beaches and running around, we started getting a lot of emergency texts and emails from our viewers that were trying to alert us to some changes. And what happened, honey?
It's appearing like the Golden Visa program is going to be suspended. Now, that's not a for sure yet, but it is looking like a big possibility. And it actually will be, I think there's a month of hearings that are allowed, then Parliament will assemble, and then the vote will happen. But it definitely is not looking great for those who have applied or those who are wanting to apply. However, some people are saying if you want to apply, do so now, because at least you would have an option to.
You used the word suspended. I don't know if I would be that easygoing on it. It's terminated. So these plans are coming to an end, are they not?
That's the goal. That's what they want to do.
So Ireland recently eliminated their golden visa, and Spain is probably going to eliminate theirs. There's a lot of talk about it, so they may not be far behind Portugal. So if you want to get the golden visa, if this is something that is your option and what you're looking for to be able to get into Europe, you better apply quickly and get in under the gun, because it's probably coming to an end in Spain soon, which has a 500,000 threshold. And Portugal was a bit more lenient on their amounts, and
theirs is 500,000 euro, and then it can be reduced to 400,000 under certain circumstances for the density of the area. It can also be reduced down again to 350,000, depending on if it's a rural, low dense area, and then 280 if it's a rural, low density regeneration area.
And that's kind of a good deal if you're buying a house and property that you can.
And it could be done with that, yes. There are some other things too, but they're a lot more complicated.
Yeah. But if you're looking at doing a pension residency or other residency to Portugal, it doesn't change your dynamics too much in your plans. But if that was your plan to use the golden visa, you're going to want to start looking at plans B or C potentially if this all goes through as is expected. We're not expecting that this is going to not pass. It sounds pretty solid. This being said, we're going to talk about things going on in Portugal right now, and this is as of February 20th right now. If you have new information after this date, please leave it in the comments. We don't have a crystal ball here, so if things change, look down below for comments from other viewers that may have updates, and we welcome all your comments to provide further updates. As well as the golden visa going away, there's an issue with the housing market here in Portugal, and they are going to stop giving new Airbnb licenses away. So if you buy property here to invest, to rent that out, you're not going to be able to apply for a new Airbnb license, it looks like. And if you have an Airbnb, you should be okay, it sounds like, until 2030, then it will be reevaluated.
And it'll be reevaluated every 5 years. But I do want to say one caveat. As far as the Airbnbs go, that's for your cities and your bigger metropolis. If it's a rural area, they are still going to allow some of these rural areas to still buy property and do Airbnb short-term rentals.
Yeah, and you just have to ask yourself, if you're buying a property out in a rural area for an Airbnb, is there going to be a demand for that, and will that even make sense? So if you're looking at buying a place in Portugal that you're going to say, okay, I'm just going to live here part of the year, and then when I'm traveling, I'm going to rent it out, you won't technically be able to do that legally through the Airbnb route any longer. If you're doing 90 days in, 90 days out, your home will technically have to be left without it being rented out through Airbnb.
You can have a long-term rental.
Yeah, you
So
can
you
have
could
a
rent to a
long-term
local.
renter.
The goal is to allow the locals a chance to get back into their property market.
So a lot of people have come here to retire, to live here, and they buy a house, and that's their primary residence. But there's a lot of other people that are coming in, they're buying 10, 15, 20 homes and or apartments, and then they're Airbnb-ing them all out. They're not going out for long-term rent. They're trying to maximize the dollar, so these investors are coming in, buying up all of the affordable housing, and I think 60% of the home transactions over the last year, if I'm not mistaken, have been due to people looking at buying them for Airbnbs, not for residence purposes.
Yes, yes.
And so that's quite a change in the housing market.
Yes, and rents and I believe property values also have gone up about 37% in the last year alone. That's a lot for these locals who are making €1,000 a month on average. I think that's the low
That's about
part.
the average, yeah. And if you're making €1,000 a month and you're having a hard time finding a place to rent for €1,000, it's you can see where that goes. So
Right.
there's issues going on right now, not because of the typical person coming here to retire and to live here full time, but over investing in the area. It sounds like. Now we recently were looking at uh, doing some research on buying a home for ourselves, our own purposes for Portugal. We own a home in Montenegro, as many of you know, and we've been looking at buying a home in Bulgaria. And by the way, if you don't know, or if you are wondering if we bought a home in Bulgaria, we do videos besides our YouTube channel. International Living Magazine has contracted with us to buy some exclusive content. So they liked our Bulgaria story on whether or not we were buying a home. So if you go to our website, warrenjulietravel.com, we have a section there for our international living videos, so you can find them and be able to go check out the videos we do there. But the ILTV video on that has not been released yet, but we expect it to be released in a couple weeks. And that will give you the answer whether or not we bought a home there. We'll show you some of the homes we were looking at and tell you about real estate in Bulgaria. So not to get off course from Portugal. So we're looking at Portugal, and we're probably going to try to do a Portugal real estate video when we go to Lisbon. Right now we're down in the Algarve area, and we'll be in Lisbon for about a month, and we're going to try to go look at some homes there. And we'll focus on homes for people to buy to live in when we do that video, not so much for the real estate investment part like on the Airbnb, like some of the times we'll tell you what to expect on the short-term rentals, because those options are expected to be going away. Okay, so we recently were investigating Portugal for our own ideas of, do we want to buy a home in Portugal? Would we buy a home in Portugal? And looking at the prices and some of the information that we're hearing, we're on the fence big time about it. We read some information that potentially Portugal could be the first housing bubble to burst in Europe, because a lot of these loans here that people have are under variable rates, so they're going to have fluctuating rates. Something like 80+% of the loans here are variable rate loans on these mortgages, and that doesn't leave a lot of room if these rates go up by a percentage point or 2 percentage points for some of these people. So there could be some defaults, and we are concerned now with this latest move on the Golden Visa and the Airbnb move that the demand is going to start to really draw back, because you're not going to have these Airbnb investors and people trying to make money on this rental income.
Right.
And the long-term rent is not going to be there to be sustained either, because they just don't have the amount of people to sustain these higher rents. So I am expecting that this could be a time where investing in property for the next year or so is going to be, do this at your own risk.
Yes, and I wanted to bring up a point. If you already have an Airbnb rental, our understanding is that what they will do is you will be able to continue your rental, have your license all the way to 2030. but there's no guarantee past 2030 that you're going to continue that. They'll evaluate you, and then it's going to be reevaluated every 5 years. So there's no continuity there.
Yeah. And no new license going out if you buy a home and you decide that you're going to live there 90 days, leave for 90 days, come back for 90 days, and not do residency. That, hey, I'm just going to come and go as I want, and I'll rent it out when I'm not there. You won't be able to do that legally.
Except in a rural area, yes.
And then, is there going to be a demand to stay in your rural area?
Yeah, I mean, there are some great areas of Portugal, and we're just beginning our exploration, but we've been looking for a very long time, so.
Yeah. So Algarve right now is where we are in this region, and we were in a beautiful little town called Lulé, and I could see living in Lulé, and the time today we were there for Carnival, and we were with a great expat there,
Yes.
Becky, and we looked at some of the real estate windows and in the town while we were meandering around, and
Definitely not cheap.
no, there's some stuff there in the $160,000 to $250,000 euro range, but not a whole lot.
I saw, you know how I am about real estate. I saw a ruin for 99,000 euro. Now you put in another 100,000 euro.
It was a
200
bad ruin.
So 200,000 euro, you probably could have a 70 square meter redo.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to turn you off of Portugal. If you're planning here, coming here as a pensioner, it's possible. But these golden visa programs are going away, and if your plan was to utilize an Airbnb to make additional income for you, that's not going to be happening unless you already have your license, and then again, that license will be up for reevaluation in 2030. Spain is probably going to be coming off the table as an option as well. While we love Portugal, if you're not coming here for residency and you're an American, but you're thinking, hey, maybe residency's not going to work for me, and you just need to pop in and out of Schengen, which is a group of 26 countries, and Portugal's part of that, you have to leave the group of Schengen countries. We have a home in Montenegro. We love Montenegro. So it's a good option to potentially do 90 in Portugal, 90 in Montenegro, 90 in Portugal, 90 in Montenegro, if that's something you would like to do. Great climates in both places. Less expensive probably in Montenegro and on a lot of things than in Portugal. So something to consider. We're going to be spending the next month plus wandering around Portugal. We're going to spend some time in Lisbon. We're debating about going maybe to Porto, but this whole thing happening while we were here kind of threw us for a loop.
I also wanted to say that if you're thinking about the 90-90 in with Portugal, it's a pretty good distance over in the west. If you're thinking of doing Morocco, be very careful, because if you go down to Morocco, as we have had some friends that did so, and your ferry departs just a little bit late, it can mess you up for your Schengen time.
And if you're not versed on Schengen, you cannot go to Gibraltar to reset your Schengen clock.
Any longer.
You cannot go to France to reset your Schengen, or Spain. You have to leave the Schengen zone. Morocco, you leave the zone, but your entry and exit day are the same day in both countries. So if you did 90 here and 90 there, you have one day that you're short. So you have to be able to have a third country in that mix. So if you go to Montenegro, you fly there, take a quick trip for a day over to Bosnia or to Albania or to Serbia. There's some other non-Schengen countries around. But if you're going to Morocco, you're kind of limited unless you want to go into Tunisia or some of the southern Sahara countries, which may or may not be on your travel journey's best interest. So you can check out those other countries south of Morocco and decide if that's where you wanted to go to spend a couple days, because you do have to leave for a full 24 hours. So if you left on the 1st from Morocco into another country, you'll want to stay the whole 2nd somewhere else and then come back on the 3rd. So you need to have that transition day. So anyhow, we're not trying to raise too many red flags here, but we want to make sure you guys have the full story, so we're out of order, because there seems to be some stress out there about the whole new rules about the golden visa and about the Airbnb rules that Portugal just passed. So if you need more information, go to our Facebook group and go to Warren Julie Travel, and we'll have an article on there about the current situation in Portugal and what just passed, so you can read some of the information in that article. But as a reminder, we're traveling the world with our 2 dogs. We're trying to see what it's like to live in other countries, other places, and we're trying to share our experiences and expenses with you. And we hope that you're going to join us and subscribe, give this video a like, and until next time, have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.